good was Donnie? And Fred says, I don't know. And Fred says, I can tell you. I says, how many racks of 9-ball could Donnie run? He says, I don't know. He says, but I'll tell you this much. When they were up in New York City, he had a guy up there that was a bookie that booked horses and numbers, you know,
Yeah.
like your 3-digit number, and booked illegal gambling. And Donnie had taken a guy for a bunch of money. Donnie went in and told him if he give him the break, just the break, no ball in hand after, you give me the break at 9-ball, he says, and I'll give you 10-1 odds that I can run out.
Don was giving the odds.
He says, we'll play for 1,000 a game. Fred Martin told me, he says, 45,000. The bookie quit. Willis hadn't missed. He ran 45 racks of 9-ball from the break without missing. Donnie was, anybody that knew him said he was a freak of nature. You know that Nick Varner went to college up at Malone, don't you?
I thought he went to Purdue. Is that in Malone?
Well, I don't. He may have gone to Purdue afterward. Maybe he went to junior college up here.
Okay.
But he knows a lot of guys up around Canton and Akron.
Nick?
Nick used to play over at the college ball. Nick said he'd never admit it, but the greatest player he ever saw was Don Willis.
I'm going to talk to him.
I mean,
I believe it.
If you can ask him. But Willis watched him play over there at the college ball, and Donnie says the kid shows too much. Talking about Nick.
Willis said that?
Yeah, about Nick. He says the kid shows too much.
Shows too much speed?
No, just showed he was too good. Willis was phenomenal. You have no idea.
I mean, Willis said he shows too much, so
about,
he would...
About Nick. He was talking about Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said the kid shows too much.
He didn't want to play Nick?
No. Just that Nick showed guys too much whenever he played.
Oh, showed too much...
Yeah, showed too much talent.
Oh, yeah.
That's like Donnie. Donnie looped his finger over top of his hand when he played. Instead of putting his finger in, he put it over here.
Like Mosconi.
Yeah, well, I asked him why he did that. He says, because players didn't do that in those days, and it looked like I couldn't play.
No, Mosconi did the thumb on top of the finger like that.
Thumb. No, Willis put his finger
Well,
over the
Mosconi did the other way. So Willis did it like that, huh? Yeah, that looks pretty...
Yeah.
Oh, but that's good. The thumb is solid on the thumb, though.
Yeah, it looked awkward.
Yeah, it
Willis
looks
said
funny.
He did that because it looked awkward.
But what about his stroke, though? It must have been a pretty smooth-looking stroke.
Willis could hit that damn ball any way he wanted to. He could hit it where it would roll up there, I'm serious, and just fall over the end of the hole. Or he could hit it like he was breaking a rack of 9-ball, and it'd still go in. That's the truth. I saw him do that.
You mean just hit any shot like it's a break shot?
Yeah, he could hit it any way he wanted to hit it. If he was playing at guys who weren't too good, he'd make it look like he was just cramming the ball. First time I saw him break a rack, here we go. Here's what he had, all right? Here's the table, okay? He breaks, he got the cue ball sitting here, the 1 ball here, the 9 balls out here.
Mm-hmm.
Out here. We knew who he was in Pittsburgh.
The 9 balls by the pocket?
9 balls right here.
Okay.
Don says, well, all I got to do is hit that 1 ball, bank it back off of the rail, come down here, I can knock a 9 in this corner. Shot it like a bullet, 9 went in a hole. We watched him do that 7 more times, or 6 more times. 7 times he made the 9 after the first shot. I know another guy that was up here in Canton from Pittsburgh. Come back to Pittsburgh, he says, Garten, he says, I played a guy that was the luckiest fucking guy I ever played. He says, you would not believe how lucky this guy was. I know you're taping that. I says, what do you mean? He says, every time that guy shot, the 9 went in. And we had a picture of Willis at Siler's.
Yeah,
I got the
you
picture.
showed it to him?
I showed him a picture. I said, is this the guy? Yeah, that's him. What are you doing with a picture? I said, that guy's undisputed world's greatest 9-ball player. Hoppy from Cambridge, he went into Cambridge years ago and went in that little pool room downstairs. And it was years later, it was in the 50s he went in there. And it was in the 70s that we were up there at Canton. They had a tournament over there at that college, or not the College Bowl. What's that one going out 162, that bowling alley?
Hall of Fame?
Yeah, Hall of Fame lanes. We went out there and Don was there. Don come in and Hoppy says, I saw you play once in Cambridge, Ohio. Willis says, oh yeah, a little room downstairs in the basement. When you went down the steps, it was a barber shop on the left. The door to the left and the door to the right was the pool room. He even told him where the tables laid. Now the tables weren't that way when I went over there in the 70s because they'd moved the billiard table from the front of the room to the back. And the barber shop pole was still there, but the barber shop was closed. Willis remembered that many years later. Was only in Cambridge maybe an hour and a half.
Super memory.
Willis played, Hoppy said that Willis played a guy there in Cambridge, okay? There were some guys playing 9-ball. Willis come in and sit down at the counter.
Yeah.
And they have like one of those old Brunswick back bar counters in there that came with it, with the place. It was in there from the get-go. And he says, Donnie come in, and Donnie sat down at the counter and got a 7-Up. And there was them little short bottles in.
Yeah.
Drank some of his pop and slammed it down on the counter. You know, you didn't do that in pool rooms then. Everybody looked up, and guys was playing 9-ball on the front table. Willis says, you know, you're playing my game. I'm the best 9-ball player in Canton, Ohio. Nobody said anything. They kept playing. Willis drank some more of it, slammed the bottle down again, says, no, he says, I'm the best 9-ball player in the state of Ohio. Them guys kept playing. And there was a guy named Ernie Finley from Cambridge. Ernie's passed away now. He was a farmer, wore bib overalls. Ernie was just sitting there in a chair. He was too good to get in the game. They wouldn't let Ernie in the game. Willis finished the pop-off, slammed the bottle down twice on that counter. Everybody looked up. Willis says, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. He says, I'm the best 9-ball player in the whole world. Finley stood up out of the chair, pulled up his bibs and says, I think you're taking in a little bit too much territory, fella. So they flipped a coin for the break. Willis won the toss, and they had the racks in there. The racks are still there down through like they had at Cambridge with house cues. Finley had a cue he always used. He went back through to find his cue. While he was looking for his cue, Willis ran 7 or 8 games on him. Finley comes up, says, how am I doing? He says, you're about 8 games down. Finley says, that's it, I quit. And then Finley asked him, he says, do you play 3-cushion billiards? Willis says, no, but I'm willing to learn. Finley says, I figured you would be. And the games he run he always made it look like he slopped the 9. He never had to run a rack.
Now, how many, didn't you say he made 23 9-balls in one game?
And I'll tell you who told me that.
Hoppy?
Jerry Wolf from Akron.
Oh, yeah?
They were in a bar. Some kid come in from down south, wanted to play Willis for 20 a game. Willis says, you want to play for a couple hundred? I'll play. Otherwise, I don't want to play. The kid says, he wanted to play for 20. Willis says, well, I don't want to play. So Willis was sitting there at the bar, and the kid started mouthing off how Willis was afraid to play him. Donnie says, well, all right, I'll play it. Kid says, we'll play Southern rules. If you make the 9 out of turn, you get paid and you re-spot it. Keep shooting. Jerry Wolf told him, do you know Jerry? Did you ever meet Jerry?
I remember that name. I'm sure I know him. I must know him.
Jerry's older now.
Yeah.
But if you ever see Jerry up there, ask him about it. Jerry told me this. Jerry says, Garten, I couldn't believe it. He says, I was sitting there and I watched Donnie. He says, that kid wanted to quit so bad and the first game wasn't over. He says, Don made the 9 23 times that one game. The kid never got to the table.
What were they playing for?
20 a game.
20 a game. That's hilarious.
In one game. The kid couldn't get out of the game. The game wasn't over. Finally, Donnie got down there where he had nothing left to billiard it in or bank something into it to knock it in.
Just the 9 ball was left, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Begrudgingly shot it in.
There was a guy, I can't remember his name now, but he and a guy by the name of Smitty owned a pool room up in Butler, PA. And the other guy was from that little town right outside Butler. Can't think of the name of the town now. Elwood City. And that was his partner owned a pool room up there in Butler. And he was down in Florida at some tournament in Florida.
Yeah.
And they had